What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today on the Diesel Podcast. Today's episode's really cool. I'm going to be chatting with Dominic from Kershaw Knives, and he's going to be telling us about Kershaw. And there's a lot of questions that we had gotten from our audience, from Discord, emails, just conversations I've had with you guys about them. And so he's going to answer questions about different blade design, materials, things that go into making a knife for like EDC or hunting or fishing. And what's really cool is, in chatting with him for a little bit before the podcast, is how much overlap there is between us as automotive diesel enthusiasts and then knife guys. And, whether it's something you carry every day, you're using at work. I was thinking about any time I've walked into an auto repair place, there's always mechanics are cutting open boxes or bags. The shipping receiving department is using them. And then, all of us are using our trucks in one way or another outdoors or on the job site, and we're using knives every single day. So I'm going to ask him questions that you guys had, some that I have. It's going to be a great time. I want to encourage you guys, if you're not on our Discord, you're going to find a link down below and also going to see it on the screen. Head on over there and join. We started it last year, and it's grown immensely. We're almost at 400 followers on there. So many cool builds and questions and episode suggestions that you guys have. So if you're wanting to get in touch with us, wanting to chat with myself, other podcast fans, some of our sponsors, it's a great place to go. Just click the link. It's totally free to join. And I definitely want to see you guys over there. Also, with our down below, you're also going to find a link for our Patreon, which is another way that you can connect with the podcast, be more involved with it, and actually be integrated into it. So if you'd like to be an executive producer for an episode, if there's specific questions you have, we're also going to be doing some contests to have one of our listeners, their truck, be our podcast cover. It's a great way to join. It's a way to support the podcast, help us grow. We have packages starting as low as $3 a month. If you want to get a shout out on there, we also have those in some of the other tiers. So you're going to find the link down below. Just click on over. If you have any questions, let us know. All right, let's get to today's podcast with Dominic from Kershaw Knives and learning what's new for 2022. Dominic, welcome to the Diesel Podcast. I'm really excited to be able to chat with you today. As I mentioned before the podcast, is I'm relatively new to knives, and I've been really getting into them lately, and I have so many questions. I know our audience does, but we're looking forward to chatting with you, learning more about Kershaw and zero tolerance.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Patrick.
Yeah, I wanted to start a little bit with Kershaw to me and zero tolerance. It's just like they're household names. I've heard the name for a long time. It was always something that when I thought of knives, it was just a name that popped up. But I wanted to learn a little bit more about the history and kind of the focus that you guys have in the knife market.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Kershaw has been around for many, many years. Started in '74 by Pete Kershaw. And eventually, not too long after that, was purchased by a Japanese company called Tai. So we're actually part of Tai Corp, but we are headquartered here in the States in Oregon. And we do have a factory in Oregon as well, right at our headquarters, where we make about 1 million knives a year and employ over 300 people plus outside vendors. So even though we are not a U.S. company per se, we still do have a strong presence in U.S. manufacturing and U.S. jobs.
That's a lot of knives. With now with some of the things that have been happening, recently with global supply chain stuff, I just thought of this question: is how have you guys been able to weather that storm with the materials that you guys use, selling that many knives, building that many? Is it something you guys have been able to stay ahead of and still continue to keep your dealers stocked, keep your warehouses stocked, and get them out to people?
Yeah, ever since COVID hit, the market really changed. It was pretty interesting to see demand for pocket knives and just really skyrocketed to the point where it's a struggle for us to keep up, for sure. And not necessarily because of sourcing raw materials. We're able to get raw materials pretty consistently and easily right now, although prices have certainly gone up on a lot of things, which has been a challenge in its own right. But there is a thirst for pocket knives right now for various different reasons, whether it be self-defense because of everything that was going on, socially, just with the riots and protests and things like that, to people just having more free time and getting outdoors more again. It's been great. It's been a bright spot in a rough couple years otherwise.
One of the things I noticed the last couple of years was just ordering more stuff in. And that's where it first started with, hey, I kind of want something different than just this utility blade that I have. What are some cool things I can do? And just opening more packages. And that's where, being new to knives, I always thought, well, a knife's a knife, but I realized that's not true. There's so many different applications, and I've been on your guys' website a ton over the years, just looking at things. I wanted to have you chat with us a little bit about the different focuses that you guys have between, say, that EDC role, or fishing, or hunting, or utility, or knives that people use, at their jobs every day.
For sure. When we started back in '74, the knife market was really focused around outdoors. It was really utilized by, ranchers, hunters, anglers. And that was the primary driver. And certainly hunting and fishing. I'm a big hunter and angler myself. There's certainly that presence is still there in the marketplace, but the marketplace has really shifted. A lot more people just carry a pocket knife as an everyday carry knife, just as a great tool to have on them, whether they work in an office or whether they work at the trades. Um, so that's really reflected in our approach lately. We do a lot more folding pocket knives built for just everyday carry, everyday uses versus, historically it was really fixed blades and things that were meant for the outdoors.
Yeah, I could think growing up, and I grew up fishing a lot, and like the fillet knives that my father had, or he was a big hunter, and things he would use for skinning and things like that. Versus how I used them. I grew up more as a city kid. I didn't really do a whole lot of that as I got older, but I found a use for them, and that's what really I've struggled with, is trying to understand the different, like, the blade materials, the different blade shapes. I know, like G10 material is something I really like, tons of people like, so I start to see those on knives. What are some different things that somebody who's new should look for if they're looking into something, to carry every day, to be able to use for a variety of different tasks, for the blade material, the shape, the handle, things like that?
Yeah. You know, there are different options. That's one of the great things in the knife world. There's different shapes for the blade. There's different handle material. There's different handle sizes, and they're all suited for different things more than something else.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're on a construction site and you're cutting a lot of zip ties or cutting a lot of bags open, you want something that pierces really well. So you want something that has a very pointed tip, which would be like a Tonto tip, for example, would be a great utilization for that, because it's great at piercing cuts versus something that you wouldn't want a Warncliffe or a sheep's foot for something like that, because they have a very blunt edge. A lot of times those are first responder style knives, so that way they cut clothes without risk puncturing somebody's skin while they're cutting them. Versus something that's used in the outdoors, you look for a blade that has a really big belly, so that you can slice the deer skin or whatever without puncturing the skin. It has that nice smooth rotation all the way to the tip. Whereas a Tonto tip, because it's very angular, wouldn't work for that. You'd end up nicking the hide quite a bit. So, you really have to think about what you're going to do with it. If you're just an everyday carrier, you're opening Amazon boxes, you're opening your mail, things just around the house. Any blade shape really could work. But as you get more into knives, you'll find kind of what your style, what you like best. And then of course there's, the ergonomics of the handle. If you have a larger hand, some of the smaller knives, because some of our handles range from just under 3 inches in length to all the way up to 6.5 inches in length. So if you have real small hands, some of those smaller handles could be right up your alley. Or if you have really small pockets, ladies have those designer pockets that can't hold anything.
Yeah.
So having a small pocket knife works great in that scenario. We're, as guys, we seem to be a little bit more fortunate. Our pockets have a lot more carry room to them, so you could carry a larger knife if that's something you like, or if you have big hands. So really, in that sense, I think the best thing to do is go to your local Bass Pro, Walmart, Shields, Sportsman's, whatever you have local, and just handle a bunch of knives. Even if you don't end up finding something that you like there, at least get an understanding of what size works in your hand, what's comfortable in your hand. And then just start exploring from there in terms of, okay, what color do you like? What handle material do you like? Are you going to have gloves on? Are you going to be doing those piercing types cuts? Are you going to be doing more slices? and just kind of experiment and see what you fall in love with.
That was one of the questions our listeners had posed. I was going to save it for later, but it kind of segues really nice. He said, I'm brand new to knives. And one of the things I struggle with is I look online and I see all these different styles, but I don't know what fits my hand well or what would be comfortable for me. So for somebody who does a lot of online shopping, or maybe, they're looking for something that they don't have a local place to go to, what suggestions would you give to someone who's looking to purchase a knife and maybe can't get their hands on it?
Mhm. Well, certainly, just your hands in general. If you're somebody that thinks of yourself as having larger hands, where a smaller pocket knife might feel uncomfortable, and what create what's called a hot spot. And just to give a little bit of context on that, a hot spot is something if you hold the knife in your hand and you put some pressure in your fist, kind of squeeze your fist around it, there are little spots that might create a little bit of maybe blistering if you used it really aggressive for a while. And so you really want to try and identify, okay, does this have any hot spots for me? And a lot of times the things that will create those, if it's not the right fit for your hand, is the pocket clip. So think about, the size of your hand, like I said, and you know, if you have larger hands, I would start looking in, something in the description, you'll see it'll say close length. That's really your handle length. Look at something that's maybe 3 to 4 inches in size to start. And also I would think of, you're going to be wearing gloves, like if you're a construction worker or a welder or something like that, and you're going to be wearing gloves when you're using the knife. You want to think about functionality. Are you going to be able to open the knife consistently with gloves on? How easy is the knife to open? And do you have any grip? You may not want a solid, smooth aluminum handle because it's going to slip in your gloves easily. You may want something with some more texture to it, like micarta or G10. Those micarta and G10 are probably the two grippier handle materials. We do have aluminum with some grip tape inlays, like the Kershaw Blur has what's called Track Tech inlays. So it's kind of like a skateboard grip tape built into the handle.
Okay.
And so it gives you a nice, real solid grip on it, whether your hands are wet, whether your hands are bloody, because you're cleaning an animal with it or whatever, or you're wearing gloves. It helps add that traction for you on the knife handle. So those are things you just want to consider, like what do you do every day? What are the scenarios you're going to be using the knife in most commonly? And then give consideration to the handle material, the size, and things like that.
That's some of the things I ran into when I was looking for something for EDC is, like you mentioned, my pockets are always filled. I got keys, I got a cell phone. I don't have a lot of real estate to be able to carry something that it may be more comfortable, but it's just too big and it clutters up that pocket area. So then I have to think of, okay, what width size handle do I want or what length? And just going through that process, it's really fun because I could spend hours looking at all the different products that are out there. But when we were chatting about this podcast, it really got me thinking about the lifestyle. And I was thinking about my experience and my history in the diesel aftermarket, being around diesel trucks and companies and diesel truck owners. And there's certain things that are just part of the truck lifestyle. A lot of the guys, they hunt, they fish. The mechanics, they're opening bags and packages, and they have knives on them. And that connection to the lifestyle is really, really important and really got me excited for this podcast because it's, typically we're chatting about a turbo or transmission or what new truck is best. But, a knife is something that we're using every single day, whether we're opening our mail, opening an Amazon package, cutting a new turbo out of a box, to install it on a customer's truck, or, we're loading up our F-350 to go hunting or fishing. And I wanted to ask you guys about how your approach as a major company in the knife industry focuses on lifestyles, whether it's the EDC or the outdoors or just something that we can use every day. What you guys really focus on there?
Yeah, that our focus is just everyday carry is our primary focus in the marketplace. Um, you know, Traditionally, like I had said before, we did a lot of fixed blade knives. We don't do that many fixed blade these days, although we do have some. Just because there's not a lot of people that carry those on a daily basis. And, if you are a hunter, for example, you're going to buy that knife and you're going to throw it in your backpack and and that's going to be the end of it, really. Whereas with the pocket knives, just the folding pocket knives, you buy one to carry on you every day. You might buy one to throw it in your truck in the glove box. You might throw one in the toolbox. You might throw one in your fishing, tackle box or something like that. There's just so much more uses and places that you'll keep them, and that it makes sense to focus on folders versus fixed blades
Is
from a
the
business standpoint.
Now, as far as the maintenance that somebody would have, or the way you approach building them, might be different, because it seems like that EDC would be probably have more daily use and abuse and things that it goes through versus that hunting knife that I put in my backpack and take out a couple times a year. What goes into constructing something for a solid EDC setup?
Yeah, there's so many different opening mechanism technologies that, depending on which you have, certainly changes how you have to care for the knife. Going back to what I said earlier, if you have gloves on a lot when you're going to be using a knife, an assisted opening knife or a push button automatic are probably going to be something that you'll find fits your needs best, because they're so much easier to open
Yeah.
when your hands aren't as nimble, right? And so assisted knives and push button open knives, they generally take less care in terms of just general cleaning and maintenance of the opening mechanism themselves, because they're quite contained. And then you have something, with our manual openers, we have what's called a KVT, which is Kai velocity technology. So it's caged ball bearings that sit against the blade that allow us really smooth manual action on it. So you can use a flipper tab, and it opens very similar in terms of speed as an assisted does. But when you have gloves on or something like that, you may not be able to hit that flipper tab as you do with an assisted, right? And then so when you have ball bearings like that are open against the blade, they can get dirtier, they can get grittier. So they're going to take more care overall on a monthly basis than your assisted or your push button automatics would, because they have ball bearing, they have moving pieces around the pivot. And so it's an area that can grab some dirt and grit easier than the others.
I actually had a conversation recently about automatic or assisted knives, and the person I was chatting with, I thought it'd be great to ask you, kind of on the fly on the podcast, is he's like, I love the idea of them, but I'm just so paranoid about accidentally hitting that button or something like that. And I wanted to ask you about the features that you guys put into those assisted or push button knives to be able to guard against that, or give the user more confidence. Hey, it's not going to open unless I want it to open.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely a concern for people, and rightfully so. I mean, you have so many other things in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
It can be easy to think that you would accidentally open it. But most of our automatics, I won't say most of them, all of our automatics, for example, the button to release the blade is recessed. So if it's in your pocket, think about it like this: the button protrudes from the handle, and for you to be able to release it, you have to be able to push the button inside the handle. So it has to go past that flush point, right? And so when you have things in your pocket, like a wallet or a pen or your car keys, it's difficult for those items to hit the button and go past being flush on the handle, right? Because that has to be very, very pointed. A lot of times it takes the tip of your finger to be able to do that. So you really don't have to worry about them accidentally opening in your pocket, especially if you carry with the button against the outside of your pocket, because then it's right against your pants, and you're going to feel, if a key, for example, goes in between your knife and your pants pocket, right?
Right.
And then for speed safe, some of our models do what's called a tip lock. So at the bottom of the handle, there's a little slider that you can slide that'll prevent it from opening until you unlock that. That's mostly on some of the USA made models. But again, it's pretty difficult for those to open in your pocket. I've been carrying a knife well before I started at Kershaw. I carried Kershaw products, but I'm trying to think, in the course of my 20 some years of carrying a knife, I think I've had a knife accidentally open in my pocket maybe twice, and both times I knew when it happened. it didn't cut me or anything. I felt it open, and I carefully went in my pocket and closed it before I tried to pull it out.
That's the launch series, right? The push button.
Yes, exactly.
I saw that there was. I was actually checking those out, and there was a bunch of different options for them. And I've actually handled a few of them, and I noticed exactly what you said as far as how the button sits on the handle. It doesn't seem like it would even be an issue of accidentally pushing that button, and it's just the way that it sits is just, it's so intuitive. It's like if I want it to open, I have to make a conscious decision. I'm going to push this button and it's going to come out versus inadvertently doing it. But that was just a knife question, or a conversation that we had recently, about that.
And if that is a concern, certainly most of the models you can change the pocket clip orientation to tip up or tip down carry. And if you carry tip up, the blade will go against the corner of your pocket. So even if somehow you do accidentally open it, the blade is going to stop against that corner of your pant. It's not going to fully deploy and be a full length blade in your pocket.
That's a good point. Yeah, that was something I was thinking about too. I thought, well, you just change kind of how it sits in your pocket, and then it hits the corner if that was to even happen. One of the most popular questions that we got when I said, hey, Kershaw's going to jump on a podcast with us, is people wanted to know about new things you guys are working on. And now that we're into 2022, we're all looking forward to, hey, what's going to be new on the market? What are some things that you guys are working on that we can expect to see on your website, at your dealers, and things we can purchase?
Yeah, we have some really great things. I'm really excited about the well, one thing that really changed in terms of how we're releasing products this year. Traditionally, we've gone to the SHOT Show, which is a big industry outdoor shooting show, one of the largest trade shows in the world around outdoor products. And we release everything for the year at that time. That's how we have historically done it. Now, sometimes when we do that, the new models have gone through the R&D process. They're in the process of going through manufacturing. But occasionally we didn't we didn't actually have models hit the store shelves until October, November, December. And we had told, our fans that in January this knife was coming, right? So there's a big gap there sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can be frustrated. You have people that are really excited about a model. They go and put it on pre-order, and then they're waiting and waiting. And sometimes they would just straight up forget that they even had that on pre-order because it was so long. So what we've done is we're releasing in smaller batches throughout the year, starting in 2022 and going beyond that. So we have our first release coming up on January 10th. I'm not sure when this will air. Maybe that will have already happened at that point. But we have a bunch of models coming out on January 10th. They'll be available. Most of them will be available for purchase immediately. You could literally go to our website and buy them, or go to your favorite dealer and put them on pre-order. They'll be on the way to the dealer within a matter of days. Some of them, I think the minority, it might be a week or two before they're available. But it no longer is the wait of potentially a couple of months before you can order the new model. So that's really exciting for us, and we're looking at possibly doing up to 3 different releases this year. So really exciting.
I really like that, because when I see something and I want it right then. I've got the money available. I'm ready to order it. I want to get it. And if there's too much time, I forget about it. And then, I'll see it somewhere and I think, oh, well, I totally missed it. And I know things are selling really fast right now. And just, if you see something, you got to buy it. But what are, for 2022, is there a major shift that you guys have seen that people are asking for, or is it expanding on, kind of the things that, your customers have always asked for, maybe doing, some more EDC stuff, or what did the market say? Hey, Kershaw, this is what we want to see in 2022.
Yeah, well, we're certainly always have an ear to what our customers are asking for. So without giving anything really away, we have a model, a new USA model that has a handle material that we've not used it. I'm confident I can say that we've never used it in a full inline product before. Maybe there was an exclusive somewhere along the line years ago, and by exclusive I mean a dealer, an authorized dealer can say, hey, you have this, this launch. we want it in a specific color, or we want it in a specific blade steel, and we'll make that for them, and that's exclusively for them to sell. So outside of something like that, I can say that this is the first time that we'll have used this handle material on a knife. We also are updating one of our hunting specific models to respond to some comments that we saw about the way that blade functions. And so it is difficult to really get in the details without being able to know that people can go and see what we're talking about right away. And then certainly in our next release, there's going to be something that really is going to get our fans excited. Something brand new that we've never done before. But that's pretty much all I can say about that.
You mentioned something really, really interesting that I know from chatting with diesel companies for 5 years now, that they can kind of struggle with as they grow. And I think, like I mentioned at the very beginning, when I think of Kershaw, it's just one of those household names where I know it's a big company, been doing it a really long time. Is how have you guys found its best or techniques or ways to be able to engage with your audience and stay connected to them? So I think that can really be hard as you grow, or as it's a big company, is being able to get that feedback from the everyday user, or the police officer, or the hunter, or the fisherman.
Sure. I think we do a great job at that. Number one, one of our goals is to make sure that we offer a product for everybody. I don't care whether you're a police officer, whether you're a hunter, whether you're a truck driver. We want to make sure that we have a product for you. Whether you're on a budget, because you got 4 kids and you're the sole income, and that's, you only got $20 to spend on a knife, we got you covered. Or whether you're a knife collector and you want the premium blade steel, only USA manufacturing, you're okay with a $120 knife, we've got that. So we try and offer such a wide range of everything. I think that's a real strong suit of Kershaw's. And as a result of that, we engage with a lot of different ambassadors from different walks of life. Like, for example, Haley Deegan, NASCAR Truck Series driver. She's one of our ambassadors. And when she posts about us, my team monitors the comments to see what people are saying. We have an X Games gold medalist, Taylor Roberts. He rides enduro bikes, and he is the Team USA captain in the international 6-day enduro race. It's like it's where countries across the world put together a team and they go race in a different country. It's the championship for enduro racing. We have him. We have a tactical 3-gun shooter. We have hunters. Then we have skateboarders. Like, we have people from every different walk of life that we support, because we want to support those communities, and we hear what their fans are saying about the brand when they talk about it. And then we try and be very responsive on our social media. The person on my team that runs it, one of the things we always talk about is, reading through the comments every day and responding to comments, whether the comment be positive or negative, and understanding, where that person is coming from, what we can do to help make whatever, if it's a bad scenario, how we make that right. And then listening to what they're saying. And, and something that we see a lot from the real knife fans, or is a large portion of our lineup is that budget-friendly lineup, like we were talking about, because we want to cover something for everyone. So they'll complain, for example, about the blade steel, HCR MOV 13. It's a real entry-level steel, but the nice thing about it is it gets razor sharp really easily. Dulls fairly quickly. And so we'll see, comments from them. Well, yeah, HCR, you shouldn't, I don't like HCR. Why do you put it on so many different models? And so, over the course of the years, we've transitioned to having a section in the catalog that's dedicated to really the knife enthusiasts. It'll have, that higher end steel that they're looking for, specific handle material. So I think that we do a really good job of trying to understand that not every knife that we make is intended for everyone. But making sure we understand what certain segments of our community are looking for, and making sure that we fill that gap with a product.
I really like that, because I find, I'm into trucks, I'm into the outdoors, I'm into knives and shooting sports and all those sorts of things. And, it's really nice when I can find a brand that covers whatever level I may be at. Typically, I don't just jump in right to the very top of the line stuff. I want to get comfortable with it. I want to know about it, and then I progress to, I want that collector item, or I want the top of the line thing that I organize the price, high to low, and I go to the high. But just being able to grow with that brand, and that was something I really noticed when I asked for questions from our audience, is how many people, I don't even know how many it got up to. It was a lot of people who have had your products for 20 years, 25 years. It's the only thing that they use when they go fishing or hunting or their EDC. So I felt that that connection, to the brand, and that was the best kind of ambassador that I could find, and the best questions were for people who use the product every day and have for decades.
Yeah, it's incredible to me to from a marketing standpoint, see the brand loyalty that we have within the community. Like you said, people that have only carried Kershaw for 20 plus years. And I really attribute that to the fact that we want that knife that you bought 20 years ago to still work the same today as best as we can. I mean, you do have wear and tear on anything that you use like a knife. So eventually, if you use it, it's going to break down and it may not be able to be fixed. But we try and stand behind everything, whether you, like I said, it's a $19 or the $100+ high end. You break your pocket clip, you can go on our website, fill out the parts request form, and we send you out a free pocket clip. You break your blade, we if you did it with misuse, like you were using it as a pry bar, for example, which let's be honest, we've all probably done it, even though we shouldn't. If you snap it, we offer blade replacement where you can, pay for a new blade on the knife. But if that's not the route you want to go, depending on how much of the blade is gone, if it's only like a 1/4 inch of the tip is gone, we can sharpen it back to a point at no charge. All you got to do is pay the shipping. Always make sure that we do that, and there's not necessarily always a cost with that. We try and make sure that we cover the needs of the user as much as possible.
Now, do all the different series of knives that you guys have the same warranty, or does it vary according to the product line?
No, every across the gamut, everything's covered by a limited lifetime warranty against defects. Like I said, if you misuse it using it as a pry bar, we still want to help you get that knife back in working order, but it may not be at no charge, right?
Gotcha. That's really cool. And it was, like I said, when I started to get into them, I kind of honed in on the Kershaw lineup, and I picked up a couple, and as I'm growing, it's really cool for me to know that I can grow with the brand. There's other series, other product lines, ahead of it that I can use for different things. So it was really cool to be able to chat with you today and be able to connect the different lifestyles. Like they're not even really different. They're pretty much the same, as I had mentioned with, I can think through walking, through an automotive repair shop, and I see a guy cutting open, a bunch of parts to install on a truck, or, the shipping department, they're opening boxes and all that sort of stuff. And there's just certain things where it's like knife guys and other sorts of things and trucks, they just kind of go hand in hand. So it's really cool to be able to chat about something different. I know people, when this releases, are going to say, hey, I heard Dominic talking about this product release. Where can people go to be able to see what you guys release, check out the product line, be able to follow you guys?
Yeah, KershawKnives.com is the easiest way to go to our website. If you want to specifically see this new release that we're doing digitally, you can go to KershawKnives.com. Right on the homepage, there's a big banner talking about the new product release. That'll take you to it. It's interactive. We've got we tried to make this so it's not just some boring, okay, here's a web page with a brand new product. So we're bringing in several of our ambassadors. We're bringing in Haley Deegan. We're bringing in Taylor Roberts. We're bringing in Cheyenne. We have a designer. We're doing Q&A sessions through this event with each of those. I'll be talking with them, asking questions about their career, whether it be NASCAR, dirt bike, shooting, things like that. And then we'll also be talking Kershaw, obviously. And they can ask their own questions. Each one of these ambassadors is going to spend some time in the chat room after they're done talking with me and answering everyday user questions, as well as we've got some 3D interactive models that you can look at the new knives and see the components of everything, 3D exploded view. But yeah, and then of course following us on social. We're really active and engaged on Instagram. I'd say if you're only going to follow us in one spot, that's the place to be. And comment, engage with us. We love seeing fans feedback. We love seeing their stories around their knives. Everybody remembers that first knife. Share that with us. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, and we'll try and engage with you and make you a happy customer.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Dominic, and helping me learn more about knives, and then answering those questions that our audience had. So I'm definitely looking forward to the new release, and I'm sure that I'll be picking something up. I just got to see what you guys do release, which one I get. But it was fantastic to chat with you, learn more, and look forward to seeing what you guys have in store for 2022.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Patrick.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, make sure and check out Kershaw Knives. They've got a bunch of releases today, some really cool things. And as Dominic mentioned on the podcast, they're all geared up for the releases this year. So when you see it, you can head on over, be able to get it right away. You don't have to wait or maybe forget about it and think 6 months down the road, oh, I really wanted that knife. I really wanted that product. So they're doing a great job of bringing everything to market as quickly as possible. So as soon as you see it, you can get it. Also, make sure and join our Discord. There's almost 400 people we have on there. It's so cool to be able to hear the stories from you guys, no matter what part of the country you're in. We have members from Canada, other places. It's a really awesome place for us to all get together, talk about trucks, parts, things we want to do, builds. There's episode suggestions, which is a great way if you have a show idea to be able to get in contact with us. Also, our Patreon links down below. We appreciate the support of all of our Patreons helping us grow. And I want to give a shout out to a couple of our Patreon members. Texas Diesel Supply and Wrights Diesel Services. The support you guys give us month in, month out throughout the years is incredibly important, and we're really excited and looking forward to what we're going to bring to you guys in 2022. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.